Do you know exactly what the LNAT is testing? It is not an IQ test, and it does not test your prior legal knowledge. Instead, it measures pure verbal reasoning. So let us walk through every question type you will meet. Because the LNAT is a test of aptitude and not of knowledge, everybody sitting it starts from the same point. Verbal reasoning covers 5 core skills: comprehension, interpretation, analysis, synthesis, and deduction. And each question type is built to measure some blend of them. First are fact-based questions. These are the most straightforward. They ask for specific details or information directly stated in the text, often about the author's views or the content itself, and no interpretation is required. For example, a fact-based question might ask for the author's main argument for renewable energy, or how the passage describes the impact of social media on mental health. The answer is sitting right there in the passage. Next are interpretation and inference questions. These require you to read between the lines, understand the meaning, tone, or implications of the passage, and draw conclusions based on the information provided rather than what is spelled out. Then come logical reasoning and argument analysis questions. These focus on the logical structure, the underlying assumptions, and the strengths or weaknesses of the arguments in the passage, such as identifying a potential flaw in the author's reasoning. Context and organization questions look at the bigger picture. They deal with the structure or context of the writing and might ask you to identify the intended audience or the primary purpose of a passage. Comparison and contrast questions test your ability to spot similarities and differences between ideas, theories, or people mentioned in the text, such as comparing the leadership styles of 2 political figures or 2 competing economic theories. Vocabulary and language questions focus on the meaning, usage, or effect of specific words, phrases, or literary devices. They might ask what a term like vitiate means, or how the metaphor of a tangled web illustrates a point. Closely related are contextual meaning questions. These ask for the meaning of a word or phrase within the specific context of the passage, which may differ from its ordinary dictionary definition. Definition questions work the same way. There are also main argument or point questions, which ask you to identify the central idea, thesis, or claim the author is making. And implied information questions, which ask what the writer suggests or hints at, but does not state outright. Application and hypothetical questions are a bit different. They ask you to apply concepts or theories from the passage to entirely new situations, or to consider likely outcomes, such as how a principle might improve workplace productivity. Author's attitude or tone questions require you to understand the author's emotions, attitude, or perspective towards a subject, as revealed through their word choice and overall tone, for instance, describing the tone of the final paragraph. Closely linked are criticism or approval questions. These ask whether the author is expressing criticism or approval of a particular subject, idea, or practice, such as their main criticism of students using the internet. You will also see argument development and evidence questions, which focus on how the author supports or builds their argument, including their use of evidence, oppositions, and counter-arguments, and inferences or conclusions questions, which ask you to draw logical conclusions from the text. Finally, you may encounter numerical ability questions. These require relatively simple calculations or data manipulation involving percentages or proportions based on figures given in the passage, testing whether you can apply quantitative information within a specific context. For example, a numerical question might tell you a town's population rose 15% in the first year and 20% in the second from an initial 10,000 and ask for the final figure. Simple arithmetic, applied carefully. Across every single one of these types, the golden rule never changes. You must answer using only the information specifically provided within the passage. No external information and no prior knowledge of any topic is ever expected or required. The only way to get comfortable with this full range of question types is to practice them all, repeatedly, under time conditions, until recognizing each type and knowing how to attack it becomes second nature. Take your preparation to the next level at lawmint.uk. Start with a free full-length LNAT practice test, built to cover every one of these question types, so you can find your weak spots before exam day. You also get our series of 200 full-length tests, with 8,400 multiple choice questions and detailed explanations. Subscribe to LNAT Prep on YouTube for more expert advice like this.